Hi, I'm Joseph Ricca, the Superintendent of Schools of the White Plains City School District, and I'm joined here by Dr. Ann Caro Teich, the Assistant Superintendent for Business and Finance. We wanted to take a few minutes and talk with you today about our upcoming Board of Education and school budget election. Now, the budget vote and Board of Education election is on Tuesday,
May 15th.
May 15th, and you can vote from 12 o'clock to 9 o'clock. We're going to say that again toward the end, but we just wanted to remind you to mark your calendars now, May 15th, 12 o'clock to 9 o'clock here in White Plains. So, Ann, we spent a lot of time talking about the budget this year already, and what do you think the most important aspect of this year's budget is?
Well, I think it's a couple of things, and it's certainly everything that we do is supporting the mission of the district. And I think that what has been most important is last year and this year is working on our long-range plan, and that the budget is just one component of that work that is continuous.
Right. And this year's budget also, again, on top of being built on a long-range plan, also contains some goals, some pretty lofty goals that we had talked about in the summer, and that hopefully we'll be bringing to fruition this year.
Absolutely. Certainly everything that we do is focused on trying to find organizational efficiencies, but some of the things that the governance team was tackling was the transition with an assistant superintendent for human resources, the superintendent transition, and continually trying to maintain a risk-averse culture. And again, long-range planning, which drives all our work. The instructional long-range plan, what is our classroom instructions going to look like in the next 5 years? Facilities, which is a huge undertaking for every school district, but we just had the 5-year building condition survey, and we also did a space study. So we're going to be having a committee that's going to be a master plan committee that's going to be focused on that.
White Plains has a very strong tradition of not only the highest quality educational experiences, but also outstanding facilities. I have to tell you that the Board of Education and the community have really done a great job in maintaining the buildings, and this budget goes a long way to continuing with that tradition.
Yeah.
There's always challenges, and this year's budget is like everybody else's, and we always face challenges when putting a budget together. You know, certainly unfunded mandates related to both the federal and state government, how new tax regulations may impact the budget in the future, tax certiorari claims, as well as aging facilities, and also increasing student needs. You know, each year it seems like we see more and more that our students are in need of additional services and support. So all of those factors are within this budget, but again, they're challenges. So our guiding principles were really about needs versus wants, right?
Correct.
Yeah, so we looked a lot at the like-to-haves or the nice-to-haves and the must-haves, and this budget really contains the must-haves. We want to make sure that we're preserving our investment in our children and in our school district, and also find efficiencies and share services, right?
Correct.
Do you think that we were able to find a good number of efficiencies this year?
I think so,
Yeah.
and transportation being one of them, as well as our internal operations, and trying to tackle those things that will yield greater savings in the future.
This year's budget to budget increase is a little lower than last year's.
Correct, it's 2.08%.
And within the tax cap.
And within the tax cap.
And we've always been within the tax cap.
Absolutely.
Outstanding. 2.08% budget to budget increase. The tax levy increase is
3.42%.
3.42%.
Which is allowable by law with the tax cap.
also lower than last year?
Also lower than last year, but the tax rate is 2.88%, which is lower than the tax levy cap.
Great. So a fiscally responsible and conservative budget within the tax cap, but also meeting all the needs and the requirements of our children.
Absolutely.
One of the things that we always have to recognize related to our budget is that the majority of the revenue comes from the local tax levy. And we're very sensitive to that, and we recognize that we need to do everything we possibly can to keep property taxes as low as possible while still providing the highest quality educational experiences. Almost 84% of our budget is really from the local levy.
Correct, and 11%, just shy of 11% from state
State aid. Yeah, I think I'd like to see more White Plains dollars coming back from Albany to support our children here. You know, the question is always, what does it mean? What does it mean to me? The budget sounds great, but what does it mean to me? And really, what we looked at 2.88% on the average assessed homeowner.
15,000 is the average property assessment.
Okay.
And
So what is that about? It's about $22.50
a month.
a month, a little under $300 a year.
Correct.
One of the things that we're excited about is that the majority of the spending takes place in our
Instructional program.
That's right, in our classrooms.
Classrooms,
And that's
yeah.
important to know, and I think hopefully our community members are happy to hear that you know, almost 80% of the spending in the district is directly toward instruction.
Correct.
Right.
And you'll see there that bears out that between curriculum and instruction and employee benefits, which is the majority of our staff, that's where the monies are
Right.
funded.
This is a summary of the staffing changes that we're looking for this year. Not a tremendous number of recruitment. However, really exciting classes and really exciting opportunities for our kids. We have additional support in our English as a new language program, right? We continue to support Church Street in moving the dual language program forward. Highlands in the high school as well, and American Sign Language as a course offering at the high school. Very exciting. As district-wide, we have our AVID program continuing to move forward, and we have a .2 and a .2 for the AVID program. In math, we're going to be offering multivariable calculus at the high school, which again, very exciting, and that's a .2 for that course. Science, engineering, and enrichment, K-12 district-wide, we're going to be offering earth science for all at the 8th grade level. So our 8th grade students, all of our 8th grade students at Highlands will be taking a Regents level science course next year. Really exciting, gives more opportunity,
Absolutely.
more possibility to our children. We're also expanding the project Lead the Way in grades 4 and 5. We have a .3 for a strings teacher, some special education changes, as well as the creation of an integrated emotional support program at Eastview, and additional support at the high school for our students with IEPs. In human resources, we'll be adding another professional position to be able to support our customer service goals and make sure that our faculty and staff members, as well as our community members, are
And help us to continue on the path of achieving efficiencies.
Absolutely.
It's a well-needed
Absolutely.
position.
We also have some club advisors and some additional athletic coaches, right? Assistant winter track coach and JV boys soccer, as well as supervision after school.
And support participation
Yeah,
and
yeah.
safety. Yeah.
And we have a tremendous interest in, of course, all of our athletic teams, but track in
Right.
particular, right? As well as some changes to the teaching assistants workday, just increasing those who aren't at 6.5 hours a day to 6.5 hours a day.
Give us coverage and support in the classrooms.
We're continuing our one-to-one device initiative as we move forward to Highlands and of course Rochambeau, as well as our Learner Active training for our teachers. And we're also going to be using installment purchase agreements to purchase our technology rather than buying it outright each year.
Maximizes our purchasing power
Yeah.
and allows us to spread those costs over multiple years at minimal impact to the district's budget.
And that actually provides the district with additional
Actual additional equipment
Right,
and,
right.
and technology that we're going to buy.
Great. Security and safety, big conversation, big topic. We're already doing a great deal, certainly adding security cameras and communication capabilities, as well as locks and swipe cards and
I just signed a purchase order for shades.
Right, shades, right, security film on exposed glass, burglar alarms. But next year going to be looking at a district-wide visitor management system, as well as exterior numbering and maps. And
We're vetting 3 systems now.
right,
A group of people will be vetting the visitor management system to make sure we get the best for the district.
great, and also looking toward potentially hiring with support from the budget a district security liaison, somebody who does this work and would work directly with our security guards,
Really
SROs, administrators,
coordination,
and ongoing professional development for our folks.
helping us with social media.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We have a number of maintenance projects that are already taking place. Generator, lighting,
Yeah.
fitness and weight room air conditioning, that's all done already, as well as some additional HVAC work that's taking place throughout the district.
And this was capital project improvements that were approved as part of last year's budget, but just, giving a status that we were looking to replace this year the roof at the high school for the D&E wings, and also the intercom and public address system, which is, starting to go out to bid, and we'll hopefully get that done this summer. Post-road drainage work, which has been a need for quite some time now.
Right.
That field is unusable.
After heavy rains, yeah.
Right. The playground equipment replacement at Marinick Avenue is complete, and the Highlands Middle School and working on the stage wall plaster repairs, and that's taking place now. And then we had the emergency project at Rochambeau
Right.
that due to the age, and I think you had said it dates back to
I don't know, I thought
the original wiring
it
in
was
the
original wiring,
building
yeah,
that needs to be replaced, that we had that short circuit.
So we have some additional recommended projects as well, a cafeteria, air conditioning in Church Street, GW, and Ridgeway. At the high school, a new pool cover and some repairs to the steam tunnels and the terrazzo steps, and again, B-wing classroom air conditioning replacement. Security improvements, which we just mentioned, as well as LED lighting at both George Washington and the high school. So that changing to LED lighting is actually going to save us money in the long run.
Yes, quite a bit.
Yeah.
That is a huge undertaking, and that was part one of the air conditioning, and part two, the air conditioning comes a little later on.
Right, that's right. Magnetic door holders that keep the classroom doors open but connected to the fire system. So the classrooms will have ventilation, but also
Can close in
emergency, and will meet fire code. Some repairs to the track over at Highlands, right?
Yeah.
Window and exterior door replacement at George Washington, as well as restroom upgrades at Church Street, and ceiling work and LED lights at MAS, and some additional work, boiler repairs and the like at the high school as well. So there are also other factors within the budget that we have to contend with each year.
So the pension system, the district has two pension systems, the employees retirement system for our support staff, and that's actually going to see a decrease for 18-19 in the contribution by the district, but then the teachers retirement system will see an increase of about 8.5% in the contribution rate. And then the health insurance is going up a blended rate of 3 to 5%, depending on what the plan is. Whether individual, family, or for retirees, which still is substantially better than the New York State plan, which...
What did that go up to?
That went up to about 13% this year for our colleagues in other districts.
Right.
And so it's still a $2 million plus savings for our district not to be in that plan and to be in our current plan with our Southern Westchester School District.
So just by participating in that health insurance consortium,
Saved us $2 million
efficiencies
plus.
and $2 million plus.
Yeah.
That's great. In this slide, what you've done, Ann, is you've broken out the spending into the three-part budget.
Right, as required by New York State law, we need to break all our expense dollars into whether they belong in capital, program, or administration, and New York State dictates to us which belongs where. But what it does is really it shows the community the fact that we are spending the most under our program, which is our instructional classroom budget.
Oh, far and above. You're spending under 8% in administrative costs and under 14% in capital costs, so like almost 80% in instruction. That's exactly where you want to be.
Exactly. So this shows you the categories that fall under each of those components, so it just gives you an idea of what those areas are.
People ask what happens if the budget fails. There would be another chance to have another election, and the Board of Education could choose to modify the proposed budget or go back out with the same budget. But if it were to fail a second time, we would go to what's called a contingency budget. Would you just explain that briefly?
Sure. New York State requires that a failed budget that's failed twice requires that we go to a contingent budget, and what that essentially means is that our tax levy cannot be any greater than it is for the current year, thereby a 0% increase. So what that translates into for us is a $6 million cut, which would be catastrophic and would impact our programs,
Right.
class size, everything. So we have to still comply with the allowable requirements of a contingent budget, so that's what it would result in.
That's one of the reasons I think that it's so important for people to recognize that participating in this election and in this vote process is so important to the community.
Coming out to vote is critical.
This year, there are going to be 3 questions, 3 propositions on the ballot. That's different than past years. The first question is going to be related to the budget, right? So we've gone through and we've sort of highlighted the budget, and you can learn more by visiting our district website and the All About the Budget section. All of the budgetary information is in there for you to be able to go through, and you certainly can reach out to us and ask us questions.
And the line-by-line budget is up there as well.
And that's in there as well. But we also have 2 additional questions, which I mentioned is a little bit different this year, but really important for the community members to know. The first is related to a capital reserve fund. A couple of years ago, the voters authorized the school district to create a capital reserve fund to be able to save dollars to use toward capital infrastructure projects.
Correct.
And not raise taxes.
Correct.
So the district is going to be asking the voters to expend some of that this year. $10 million.
$10 million, and the voters are required to approve how we spend it. They were required to approve that we could set it up. But by doing this and using this fund now, we are not issuing serial bonds, which would cost us $2.3 million in principal and in interest and issuance costs. So that's a huge savings to the taxpayer by having this capital reserve fund. And the work that's going to be accomplished through this project will be part 2 of the cafeterias at Mamaroneck Avenue, Highlands, and Rochambeau.
This is the air conditioning.
The air conditioning, and the most important part of this project is roofs at Church Street, George Washington, and Rochambeau and High School.
Right, and those full roof replacements, which are really needed to ensure the integrity of the structure.
Correct.
We also have a partial roof replacement at MAS, as well as intercom and public address system at Church Street, George Washington, Ridgeway, and Rochambeau. Again, not only is it important to have a public address system to be able to contact teachers within classes, but it's also a big part of the security system.
Yes, a huge part of the security program.
Some additional work at Highlands, right? Stage lighting. You mentioned phase 2 of the electrical repair at Rochambeau, and new gas lines and ceiling and lighting replacement at Church, restrooms at Ridgeway, and water meters at GW.
Correct.
So that's the second
Proposition.
The first would be the budget. The second is the request to expend capital reserve, which again does not increase taxes at all, but we do need the community's permission to do it. The third, which is probably one of the most exciting, I think, components of our conversation this year related to the budget, has to do with transportation.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about what the third question is asking.
The third question is to address the transportation for high school students who live a mile out from the high school itself. And anyone who lives outside of that mile from the high school would be entitled to transportation to school. Currently, there's a parental fee that children are charged $1.75 each way to get on the bus. And at that point, they're not guaranteed necessarily a seat.
Right.
So last year, we started an intensive review, due to students raising this issue year after year. And we analyzed our routes, we analyzed our ridership, and believe that there will be efficiencies by able to reduce the number of buses that are on the road. And that savings will more than enough offset the cost of being able to provide transportation to the high school students.
Yeah, very, very exciting, and certainly the community knows, anybody who's had a child at the high school knows that not having transportation, busing, has been a challenge for students told us that.
And a hardship in many cases.
And the Board of Education, I think, really did a great job listening not just to students but also to the community and trying to figure out a way to make this work. And I think the efficiencies that you're talking about in terms of fewer buses on the road, more efficient routes. The loading of buses that again is more efficient is not only going to make it safer around schools at arrival and dismissal, but also provide all of our children with access and opportunity to school. You know, and I think one of the things that people think about is it going to impact the present busing? And the answer is
no.
no.
And I had some questions actually at the end of last week addressing that very issue, and there should be no change to the current busing to our K-8 community. This is just going to take the current busing structure for high school and include it as part of that overall.
Right, so kindergartners wouldn't be riding a bus with high school students or
and the average ride time will remain the same, and the average bus load will remain the same.
Very exciting. So this year, 3 questions. The first related to the budget, the second related to capital reserve, and the third related to transportation. I should mention also for transportation that it does include our children who attend private schools within the city.
Correct. We probably have less than 100 students who would be eligible because we are only required by law to transport within the city limits those private schools. And we're already transporting K-8 private schools. So there'll be, 2 additional high schools that will transport. And I think when we did the workup, it was like 67 students.
Right. May 15th, Tuesday, May 15th.
12 to 9.
12 to 9.
Come out and vote.
Come out and vote. Remember, 3 questions, the budget, capital reserve, and transportation. And 3 Board of Education members are up for re-election.
Correct.
And they are James Ricky, Kane Letizia, and Rose Lovich.
Correct.
All 3 on the ballot. We greatly appreciate you taking the time to view this, and we're also very appreciative for all of your support, not just this year, but also over the years. The White Plains City School District is truly a gem in Westchester County and the state of New York, and it's because the community supports all of our children all of the time. So thank you for that. I also think we need to thank the Board of Education as well. This board has been extremely thoughtful and progressive in the sense of wanting to do the best for every single child. And White Plains has a strong history of that. So thanks so much to the Board of Education, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you.
See you on May 15th.